Good Thursday morning, and welcome to Ice Age TV, the internal combustion engine age YouTube channel that talks about all my cars and trucks and motorcycles, the SUVs, the camper, the pool, not so much the pool anymore. Oh my goodness gracious, the Grom, the beautiful day. Wow, just incredible how we're having such a beautiful week. It's just wow, blessed. We are blessed here in the Northern Virginia, Maryland, DC area of this week being not hot, not cold, just right. I mean, wow, just perfect time of year as we transition from the summer to fall. Yes, the Halloween is around the corner. Thanksgiving's around the corner. Christmas is around the corner. Hard to believe. Hey, good Thursday morning to all those that get up in the morning and turn on my channel. Thanks so much. Hope Gail and Brian are having a great day today. Down there just yonder by a bird fly or throw of a rock. Is that what you say? I don't know what the hell I'm saying. But anyways, hey there, good morning there to all those that reach out and participate in the channel, especially to Don and Jenny and Mandy. And I mean, I can go through the whole list for the next half an hour. Do you want to do that? Let's just keep on moving over the barn. Check out what is in the barn today. What are we talking about? Look at this Chevy Colorado Bison. I haven't driven that much at all lately. And yesterday I decided to drive that truck. Man almighty, that truck is so challenging for me to get in and out of. It kicks my ass. I'm telling you what. I mean, borderline, it's like, oh my gosh, I love that truck. But it takes so much out of you to get in and out of it. Oh, I mean, I'm not lying. Anybody here who comes by and visits me, I'll be like, hey, get in and out of that truck 10 times. Let's see how you feel. You just did a workout. All right, as we trudge on over to the shop, the wife just left. She escaped without being on video yet another day. And there's your old Kiefer boy. Did I wear his butt out yesterday? If you're watching my channel, that dog, I saw that dog hit close to 30 miles an hour one time. He's a solid 25. All right, and here's the camper, and here's the other Bison, which that truck there is easier to get into than the Chevy Colorado. Is that incredible? That's unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, think about it. That's a bigger truck. All right, let's get in the shop here. We got the Grom. This Grom with that Yashimer exhaust is so much fun. This thing is a blast. I mean, it is a blast. I just can't get over how much fun I'm having on that bike, and it just seems to help my riding skills. So I'm more confident to do really fast maneuvers. And you know, in Kiefer, yeah, it's crazy, that dog Kiefer. As you walk over here and get the dogs upstairs to kind of get that attention, the distraction. That's what happens on my channel is I get distracted because we have a Kiefer dog. We got a ginger. You know, Kiefer, doesn't he seem a little bit more mellow this morning? If you watched my video last night, that yesterday evening, I really got into it on riding that Grom. I rode a good 30, 40 minutes on that Grom. I don't even know if all the video populated. It drives me nuts when I go try to make video on my channel and upload it. The Insta360 is such a challenge. I've talked about it so many times that the Insta360 is always uploading. First you make all the video in the Insta360, but then you got to freaking upload it to your phone. Then you got to create a movie. Then you got to publish it on YouTube. And it's not easy. It's like, oh my gosh. All right, so what are we talking about today? Yeah, I'm sure some people are just like, let's just cut to the chase. And what are we talking about today? Because Monday was the recruit conversations. Tuesday, we honored Buck out of Oregon with the muscular dystrophy, the LGMD that he has in his life, which I'm very sorry to hear that. So we spent the day, Tuesday, talking about the sick conversations. And yesterday, Wednesday, we had the vision conversations. And then today, I thought a conversation we haven't had is the blind conversations. And wow, for so many that have been around a while, you probably know Stevie Wonder, a blind musician, very well known. Who didn't read the book, the Helen Keller woman that was born blind and deaf. Wow. I mean, you think about some of the things that people come into this world, that the challenge they have right out of the gate in this physical world is just unbelievable. And that they strive to survive. But yet there's so many out there that abuse the drugs and alcohol, and they kill themselves. And then others kill others. And as we all know now, I didn't know about this till late last night because I don't watch the news per se. But sadly now in Georgia, there's 4 people dead this morning 2 school teachers and 2 students, and 9 critically injured or injured from a whack job 14-year-old kid that was interviewed a year ago that was a danger to the school, and nobody ever, I can't believe how the father or mother, whoever this kid is, still gave him access to their guns. Don't know the whole story, but yet, you know what? When school started, I don't know if anybody remembers this, but I said to everybody on my channel is, hearts and prayers for the kids that go to school this year, because we just know, sadly, what's going to play out. So very, as you always, it's just the loonies that live among us, that how we handle that. So don't really want to dwell on that, but just, oh wow. For anybody who has children in school, I know it's on your mind. And once again, hearts and prayers. And for anybody out there that has children in school, for the well-being and safety of who you are. And wait a second, what's going on here? Hey, well, me being blind, the most wanted sign is gone. What the heck is this? Jesus Christ. Who the hell's that? What the hell's going on now? Did Don show up last night? Is this The Shining? Oh my gosh. What the hell? Now the guy's out of control. What? I'm surprised this is even here. Oh my gosh. Wow. Wow, should I be concerned? Look at that look on Don's face. I think everybody knows who that is. Wow. Yeah, so tomorrow, is the car around? Good Lord. I tell you what, man, when you're a public creator like me, exposed to all the public, talk about the loonies. Does Don lost it? Wow. Yikes. Yeah, I don't know, man. This is creepy, right? Nighttime. What's going on here? Anyways, let's not focus and dwell on that. If you get all that. So the blind, how do we take the blind conversations and talk about cars and trucks and motorcycles? And it's really intriguing how I spend a lot of time at nighttime. I wake up all the time. I just don't sleep all night long. I never do. I just wake up all the time. And when I wake up, I start reading content. And I try to bring you content through my video channel from me at 3 in the morning, reading content for an hour or 2. And so I try to convey that, and hopefully I can convey it where it's actually correct on how I talk about it. Cleaned up the bench a little bit there. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know. That's kind of weird. Oh, I got to get my different hat on. I got to change out my hats. Do I wear my Cooters hat today? The Cooter hat? I think I should. I like that stuff. I really do like the Cooter hat and the General Lee thing. I think it's pretty cool, personally. You know what I mean there. But to go to Cooters, yeah, right. Surprised that place is still open, personally. Surprised that place hasn't been shut down. I mean, if you ever go to one, you'll get that. You'll get it. If you watch my video, yeah, how blind can you be if you go there and you see what's going on in today's world of what's accepted and isn't. So yes, and that show is actually canceled for many reasons. Just like Steve Carroll of The Office, when the new executive of NBC came in, he didn't like those antics of what Steve Carroll was doing that in so many ways were derogatory to others. That's why Steve Carroll no longer was with The Office. I don't know whether you realize it or not, but that's a fact. It wasn't only about compensation. It was the future of that show was not in NBC's executives' views and eyes of what should continue to be. And Steve Carroll was like, raised his hands like, well, the party I had here is done. I'm out. So anyways, the blind conversations, the reason I was bringing up reading at 3 in the morning, really great article that I read. I don't know if I want to be near that thing or not. That's creepy. Go over here. So I read a great article in Rider magazine about these police officers that are actually, I'm trying to find it here. I'm sorry if I distract here. So this is so cool. I found this article on Rider magazine, can't speak. The Motor School with Quinn Redeker. Oh gosh, I hate when it does this stuff. This is an article about police officers who ride motorcycles. That's their job. Motorcycle cops. And what's so cool about this article is 2 of the people being recognized in Rider magazine are local police officers. And what's even cooler, I was at Witt's Harley prior to becoming Bull Run Harley. So here's one guy out of D.C. that is talking about the rider skills of a police officer and what is so important that should be related to you as well. So what's so cool is here's a guy out of Vienna, Virginia, Dale Chip McEl Hatton. I met this guy. I was at the Harley dealership years ago, and he has such a distinguished face that but he wasn't in his uniform. He was just in his civilian clothes, and we started talking. I don't know, maybe he was in his uniform. That was probably 10 years ago when I ran into him at Witt's Harley out there in Manassas, Virginia, and a very cool guy. And actually this article talks about how he's a really nice guy as long as you're not speeding. But what's interesting here is this article that highlights these police throughout the country, it only took like 4 of them, from the East Coast to the West Coast. The main theme that you hear through all of these is the blind. The blind spot basically is kind of the common talk. And if you're a motorcycle enthusiast, you know the number one thing that you're concerned about is another driver seeing you. And the number one death on motorcycles is the T-bone hit. In fact, you actually witnessed it on my channel. I am lucky to be here today. I could honestly no longer be on this earth, or I could possibly be paralyzed or critically injured for life. If you watched my video this past Easter in Tennessee on my Road Glide CVO ST, where I was going down the road filming with my camera, and my daughter was behind me, and at that time the lowrider ST, and as I'm going down the road, a lady comes out of nowhere to a side road and pulls out onto the main road we're on, and I'm doing 50 plus miles an hour, and I had to instantly lock this bike down, and miraculously I didn't hit that woman by it was a fraction of it was just a second or 2 second difference of me possibly hitting her and being ejected off my motorcycle versus me escaping. And what's really interesting here in this article here, this one California police officer, he talks here, see if I can find him here for you. His number one thing that he said one thing he learned in his California Highway Patrol motor school: my instructors told us that when faced with a choice of either laying the bike down in an emergency or keeping it upright and trying to ride it out, keep riding the motor. And I can tell you firsthand, this was a lifesaver. So this gentleman here is saying to people, because I've heard a story a lot. I've run into people that say they laid their bike down to avoid hitting something, and then they got pretty screwed up. And for me, that never entered my mind of laying my bike down. What entered my mind was trying to steer around her. And that's what I miraculously did without losing control of my motorcycle, one-handed. Yeah, if you got to know that, you get all that. So, but once again, for the motorcyclists, the number one killer is people will pull out in an intersection and they will cut you off. And the impact, if you don't know this, you may know it, may not. So what they say is if you're on a motorcycle like 30 to 35 miles an hour and you hit something that stops you and you're ejected, it's equivalent to jumping off a 3-story building. That's what they claim. I could be wrong on that. I read about that years ago. So basically, if you're riding a motorcycle 30 or 35 miles an hour and you come to a complete stop by hitting a vehicle on the side of it, and you're thrown and launched over that vehicle, it's basically like you just jumped off a 3-story building to have it impact your body, which is going to probably kill you or break your neck or severely paralyze you for life. So and as we know, if you're really on my channel, you know sadly that my nephew, Micah, in Florida, right there down where I live, I know where he got hit. Florida's the worst because there's so many intersections, such a flat, Florida is very dangerous riding motorcycles. It's dangerous riding motorcycles everywhere, but Florida just has so many intersections versus the loop-de-loops. And so sadly, my nephew, a woman, pulled out in front of him at an intersection and killed him. And from what I understand, when he flew off the bike, he actually got up and walked around for a second before he collapsed. And then by the time he got to the hospital, he succumbed to his injuries and passed. And I know people are really on my channel. It was a very emotional time for me. It was very challenging for me because I felt like I was part of that because in 1997, he came to me and he lived with me for a summer, and I bought him a dirt bike and I taught him how to ride a dirt bike. And so his true beginnings of riding motorcycles came from me on this property. So I kind of really hit to the heart, and it really was very challenging for me to and the whole family was very sad. And once again, the blind spot. And that's why I'm talking this morning about motorcycles, because that's the biggest challenge as a motorcyclist is you're in a blind spot. You're going down the road, and if you're hanging on the corner of that car, the odds are the person doesn't see you. Even in cars, people will say the same thing, that you've been driving down the road many times, and who hasn't had a car on your 2-3 lane highway, you're all going the same direction, and a person maneuvers into your lane, and they don't do it intentionally. I mean, today, more than ever, it seems like they do. But even I've done it. I think everybody could probably say, oh man, I didn't realize that person was there, because it was a blind spot in your vehicle. But now today, with blind spot monitoring on the cars and all the new technology that's coming with the cars, it's helping us have that alert that somebody comes up on the side of your car. But to me, it's good, but it's not great, because it takes a little time for that to hit your mirror. If you're kind of moving in a quick manner, I'm not so sure that blind spot mirror always saves you. But when you're on a motorcycle, it's pretty cool, because you see that little light pop on in the mirror right here, up here, then you're kind of a little bit more, okay, the person knows that I'm near them, whether you're in your car or your motorcycle or whatever it may be. And so Brian out of Georgia, he's so funny. He's a great guy, family man, and he's a car motorhead enthusiast, a motorcycle enthusiast. So he keeps on referencing my Corvette, how he's loving how this thing doesn't get driven, and he hopes he's up first to buy it. You know what? I'm going to tell you straight up on my channel, everything's for sale. I mean, in all reality, everything's for sale. If anybody here on my channel says, I really want this, want that, but the challenge is going to be, you got to pay the bill. So it's not going to be like, because you know me on my YouTube channel, that Brian says, well, I really want your Corvette, but I'm going to pay you 50 grand for it. I'm like, well, basically with taxes and everything else, I'm into that car for over $65,000. So, what am I going to let it go for? I think that car is worth probably close to $70,000, because it's not a common Z06. Good luck finding a low mileage Z06 convertible, the peanut butter interior, the LT3 package. I mean, go ahead, find it and prove me wrong. High mileage maybe, but the whole point is, sure, now the Camaro Z28, that would be challenging, but I'll tell you straight up, somebody came and said, I'll give you $100,000 for that Camaro Z28, I'd be like, well, I think it has to go. Nobody's going to do that. I don't know why you would, because you can find other ones that, well, in all reality, the Camaro Z28s that I found in the marketplace had low mileage. Those were $100,000 cars. The cars with 20, 30, 40,000 miles on them, those were more than $60,000 to $70,000 cars. So for me, the challenge would be, why would I give up the car? But once again, everything's for sale. Somebody came and said, hey, I want your Fireblade. I'd be like, all right, well, that bike is a $30,000 bike by the time you pay tax and tags and setup and freight and blah, blah, blah. So, all right, back to the blind conversation. Not to get too off kilter here, which that can happen in all our discussions here of me sharing stories of all my cars and trucks and motorcycles. Oh, so the Ford Lightning truck, what a fiasco. That truck, if you're really watching my channel. And the thing is, I do daily conversations. And for those that really stay in tune with my channel, you can follow along with my conversations. And that's why I call it the morning conversation, because to me, we're talking to one another, because many reach out to me on the comments, emails, and Biker Bug said this morning, hey, Andrew, good morning. I need to get on the Fast Johnny. Yeah, I need to get on a lot of bikes to go put some miles on them just to keep them running well. But the point is, for those that really stay in tune with my channel, you kind of know what I'm talking about, because you watch it on a regular basis. Somebody that doesn't watch on a regular basis, you're going to be kind of lost in these conversations. And it's just like watching a sitcom, a series of where you don't, like Yellowstone, if you're a big Yellowstone person, if you didn't stay in line with, the chapter and season and everything, you were kind of lost half the time what was playing out. But for the Ford Lightning truck that we thought was bricked, it wasn't. It was just a 12-volt battery. Well, it's more than that. Now it's got some type of drivetrain issue. So, but before I found that out yesterday by Hampton, Hampton, who's created the bill for the dealership, and actually a woman from Coons showing Ford. Now keep in mind, Coons Automotive Group was bought out last year by Asbury Automotive Group. So it's been a total revamp of management, the way things are done. A lot of things are changing in the Coons organization. And a lot of people have left and a lot of people have stayed. But a woman called and she said that Matt down there had given her the information about this $521 tow bill that I'm supposed to pay because it wasn't called in correctly. So if you're a person that has a car and you don't go through the proper steps and procedures, you could possibly have your own bill because you didn't do it right. But I didn't do that. Hampton did that because he's inexperienced in my eyes. He wasn't trained right. I even told him yesterday, he said, look, it's unfortunate that that bill came to be, but you weren't trained right. Somebody didn't train you on how you make these calls. I should have made the phone call. So what the whole story is, if I called for the tow company to come get the truck, it's covered under the warranty. But if the dealership calls, it's so stupid. Dealership calls, then it's on the dealership's end. I guess it's because maybe the warranty companies think it's a favoritism to some tow company. So the woman said, Matt explained to me what's going on. And she said, we will pay that bill in-house. So, you know, you have to think to yourself, they know me down there. Matt knows me very well. So if I was just your average person, would that have played out? I don't know. But for the record, and I feel bad for Hampton, but at the same time, I feel bad that the dealership, I don't feel bad. I feel more like the dealership didn't train him properly. So Hampton calls me yesterday and he gives me a heads up and he says, your truck has got a part that's going to take us 2 or 3 weeks to get it. I'm like, oh, well, whatever. So the truck's just now sitting down in Coons going forward. How the hell does that thing, can't that thing catch on fire? I mean, these electric vehicles, it's so bad. It is so bad about how you buy these things and you can't ever get rid of them. I mean, I hear the stories. Dulles Motorcycles of Dulles, they no longer sell electric motorcycles. They used to be a big Zero motorcycle dealer down there. And last time I was down there just a while ago, they are getting rid of the Zero line. And the reason they're getting rid of it is they don't feel good about how those that buy those come back to like get upgrade it, get the newer latest model, and they don't have any value. So they don't like that. So the owner, it doesn't want to be a Zero dealer anymore because the things have terrible resale value. So anybody out there that buys an electric motorcycle, be very careful. The odds are you're going to probably own it for life, or you're going to just give it away, or you're going to take a horrendous loss on it because nobody wants them. That's the reality. Not when I say that, I'm sure there's markets for it in certain areas, but in this area here, more rural, a little bit more challenging. So what does that got to do with the blind conversations, right? Well, once again, it's just me giving you a heads up of where things are going, what's going on. So now, blind. To your eyes, and even for me, we're blind to the universe we live in. We're blind to the sky above us. And I'm sure many that are probably more into the military knowledge. So do you know about Space Force that Donald Trump created in 2019? So apparently, I think that's what it's called. Space Force is now another division of the military that its crucial role is for the well-being of all the satellites that our country owns that are used not only commercially, but for defense, military. It's a lot of things. So right now, they're claiming that there's close to 10,000 active. There's many more satellites out there floating around in space around the Earth, but they're claiming right now there's actually like the NATO. There's actually an organization in the world that oversees and is very knowledgeable and knows all these satellites that are being put up into space. And so right now, there's close to 10,000 satellites floating around Earth here that helps you and I do a lot of things from all the technology. I'm sure you know Starlink with Elon Musk. He's got all these satellites that he's been shooting up for years, and he's building out telephone networks, cellular capabilities, GPS, and also internet. And so he's big time into that. But the reason I bring this up is because even for me, we're blind to the fact that all this is above us, but we can't see it. But it's real. But what's really real is now Russia and China are becoming much more aggressive, and they're starting to get their own satellites up. More about China. Russia doesn't really have the technology like we do, or China has, but China's catching up. And China apparently just last year now has like 500 satellites that would actually have potential to interfere with our satellites. And so now it's the space wars, which you've probably seen the science fiction movies if you're really into all that stuff, the Star Trek stuff. So where we're going in today's technology is the challenge of the space. Who owns the space? I mean, you think about it, who owns the space? I mean, how can you make claim that you own the space up there and you have the right to position your satellites over somebody else? And that's what's going on. The Chinese are building technology to start maneuvering our satellites out of position for their satellites. And they're also developing technology to not necessarily blow up a satellite, but to interfere with it. And it's a very big concern because it's so much today more than ever that for us on Earth, the military operations rely on that type of technology. And that's why Donald Trump, and I'm sure people tapped on his shoulder. I don't think that, I mean, I'm not here to promote that, oh, Donald Trump was the guy. You know, the point is Donald Trump, and here's the thing, but Joe Biden and all these other politicians, they all support this for the well-being and infrastructure of our country with the satellites and the safety of our country, because that's huge. So for me, once again, I'm just thinking, wow, who thinks about that? I never think about that. Do you think yourself right now that there's just 10,000 satellites orbiting our Earth right now that's running so much of our technology? But here's really what's interesting is we talk about this all the time about we're in a social media, we're in a media machine, and you get blindsided because you don't know what to believe or not to believe. And like me, if you watched me last year trade in my black Raptor Ford truck for that Power Boost Ford F-150 truck, I was so blindsided. And you know what's incredible? The guy that picked up my F-150 Lightning Black truck, younger guy, tow guy, he bought into the same thing I bought into. He saw that window sticker with that 23 miles per gallon or whatever it was average, whether it's city, highway, whatever it may be, overall average, and he bought into that, but he never saw it. He saw like 19 miles per gallon. And I complained about that on my channel a lot. So I felt like I was blindsided by the fact that that Ford has misrepresented themselves. And that's a huge thing. When you go buy something, I'm sure many people feel like they were blindsided, that they didn't realize after the deal that they stuffed all these other fees into the deal that made the vehicle so expensive. Who doesn't know that? Or you buy a used car, and I've had this happen to me, and the sales guy, the Carfax, whatever it may be, you get blindsided because it's not really what it is, what you thought it was. Who hasn't had that happen in all the years I've bought cars, especially years ago when it wasn't the capability, you'd be able to get these Carfax reports and all this other stuff. And so you'd buy a car. I'll never forget buying my wife a BMW two-door convertible, no, two-door hardtop, manual transmission, and the car I bought from was a crashed car. And I felt blindsided by the sales guy that I've known for years that as a friend, he wasn't my friend. And who doesn't know these stories? Who doesn't know these stories of you thinking you have a friend in life and somebody you trust so much or whatever it may be, but in the end, they blindside you. I mean, good Lord, I guarantee everybody on my channel can give a ton of, of stories on that. But here's the thing, in today's world of all the social media, all the media machine, what you don't know, as I've said so many times, you don't know what to believe, not to believe. Here I'm trying to open this damn bottle to get water this morning. You can't open these damn things. You have to be Mr. Muscle Man. Jesus Christ, what a joke. Just to get a bottle of water. These things are such a waste of society. Does everybody agree? When we grew up, we didn't even have these damn things. And, more than ever, I use a lot of my Yetis, and I don't use these water bottles, but it's such the challenge of staying on top of all of your Yetis. We got a gazillion of those things. I have some water as you look at the artwork here with Kiefer Boy, who I think I wore his butt out. What a good little boy, right? I think I wore his butt out. And there's the Fast Johnny, if nobody knows what that is. The good old racing days of Harley versus Indian. So, I haven't ridden that thing in ages. I haven't ridden any of these. I mean, it's crazy. And now the daughter's dating, so the motorcycle thing, she better go hang out with her boyfriend and go ride motorcycles, which I get all that. I mean, that's, who wouldn't? You know, if you're a youngster and you got a new boyfriend or girlfriend, that's exciting times. So the motorcycle ride for them is kind of like, yeah, kaput. I got to get another Yashimura exhaust. Actually, it's in. I need to run out to Timber Cotta, but I got so much going on. Business-wise, for me, just, dangerous. I go out to Timber Cotta. What do I buy next? That's the challenge that happens to me when I show up at that place. There's something new sitting there, like, oh, here we go. Yeah, I'm blinded by the light. Is that Manfred Mann or whatever? Who, I don't even know. What's the song? Blinded by the Light or whatever? Ever know that? Yeah, that's another thing. Sadly, as you know, this time of year is more of a dangerous time of year because of how, when you get up and go to work, the sun is coming up later in the morning, and who hasn't had the problem of driving down the road? We were blinded by that sun. You take your sun visor, you put it down, you have your sunglasses on, and it's very challenging to see ahead of you, and there's been many crashes and fatalities because the sun blinds you. Sadly, here in Leesburg, Virginia, this is probably 20 years ago, a guy was on a motorcycle here in town, and it was like this time of year, maybe a little later this time of year, and he was sitting downtown at a light, and a person was blinded by the light, ran him over and killed him. Who hasn't heard these stories? I mean, I'm sure many other people out there could say that because the sun is so powerful and it literally blinds you as you're driving down the road. I mean, it's bad. I'm sure everybody here has a story where, like, oh yeah, I used to drive to work and I used to always go over this one hill, and at a certain time of year, that light was so bad. I mean, you just lost total vision as you drove down the road, and you're blinded by the light. That's the song, right? So now, us individuals, I think we're blinded more than ever on these devices. I think more than ever, we're in an age where people are being told things and shown things, and you're blinded. You don't know what to believe. So last night, this is what I read. Now, I think it's propaganda, but you don't know. And this comes off of the Wall Street Journal. Let's see here. All right, so let's see. Wall Street Journal. No, this is Bloomberg. Bloomberg, I believe. So here's an article from Bloomberg saying that Vladimir Putin and Russia will support U.S. President Kamala Harris in November's presidential election because she's been endorsed by President Joe Biden. Biden was our favorite, but he dropped out of the race. President Putin said Thursday in response to a question at the, what's it say here? Even for me, I can barely read this. Preliminary session of the Eastern Economic Forum and Russia's far eastern city of whatever. But he recommends that all of his supporters support Harris. So we will as well. And then says, but let's see here. Then says, Republican contender Donald Trump has imposed so many restricted sanctions. So listen to this. Putin's now saying former Donald Trump had imposed so many restrictions and sanctions against Russia during his first presidency. Putin said Harris laughs so contagiously and expressly it shows she's doing well. So now, do you believe this article? Is Putin like playing a game? Sincerely, he just said that he favors Joe Biden, and this makes no sense to me. We're in a war against Russia. We're supporting Ukraine with military warfare to fight Russia. But yet, Putin's making a statement that he thinks that Biden and Kamala Harris were the better choice than Donald Trump. So you have to say to yourself, I don't believe that statement personally. Then here's the thing. What did Donald Trump go through the first few years, basically his whole term as presidency, besides being called out that the Russians colluded to get him elected? Once again, what do you believe? It's so challenging as an individual And that's the thing. You get blindsided. And more than ever today, we're in the social media, and the media machine just continues to blindside so many to think of what will be, but it's never going to be. It is so bad. Now, here's the next thing for being blind. If you're blind, Elon Musk is maybe your new friend. The robo-taxi, if you know about that, Elon Musk has been talking for the last 4+ years of bringing a robo-taxi. You say, well, what's a robo-taxi? Well, robo-taxi is a vehicle that will have no steering wheel and no pedals to drive it. It'll drive itself. It'll be its own 4-wheel drone. Basically, what we're talking about is instead of a drone being up in the sky and it being able to fly itself in so many ways because of all the GPS, all the satellite, all the technology, latitude, longitude, whatever, the future car of being driverless is here. And to the point that it was supposed to be shown off back in August, but they now, I believe it's October 10th or 8th, Elon Musk is going to reveal the robotaxi, which will transport you from point A to point B without having to drive the vehicle. So if you're a blind person, this is big news if you believe in the technology, if you believe it's safe. It's crazy, but it's happening. And so once again, October 8th, I believe is the date, could be wrong by a day or two, that Elon Musk is going to finally reveal his driverless vehicle, the robotaxi. Wow. And if that really does play out, I mean, I'm sure many of my channel would have to say, wow. Now, I think if you're in a city, if I was in a city, would I have confidence in that vehicle to maybe to do that? Probably. But if I was out in the rural roads where you're going down these back roads and there's, you run off the road, go off a cliff, well, man, I don't know. I don't think I would have the confidence of being the guinea pig for that. But once again, if I was in a city, if I'm in a major city and it's just going block to block and there's tons of cars around me where it can't really do much more than run into cars and be stopped, then yeah, whatever. But I think most would agree to get out on the rural roads. You're on 2-lane roads, you're opposing traffic going by you at 50, 60 miles an hour. But what would be interesting about all this technology is how the heck will the car really be likable on the roads? Because you know as well as I do, it's very challenging in the roads we drive on where the posted speed limit's 45 miles an hour, but it's a 50, 55 mile an hour road all day long. So the robo taxi shows up and it obeys all the speed limits. It obeys everything beyond believable. Don't you think that's just going to maybe create road rage? It'll be very interesting down the road to see the video of the guy in the big ass truck that just goes and obliterates the robo-taxi, knowing that there's nobody in it. I would have to say that knowing the car is just that robo-taxi is going back from dropping somebody off back to wherever it's going to go to the next person or whatever it is, I'll be amazed you don't see some guy in a big ass truck just taking that thing and road rage like you can't see. Believe. I mean, won't that be the heck of the movie or the heck of the scene? Yeah, so and this guy right here would probably be driving it. Can you imagine seeing that guy in the rearview mirror as you're driving on the road? The Shining with Jack Nicholson. Yeah, is that what it's called? I think that's what it was called. That was the movie. So anyways, the political agendas, I was talking to some of my friends. I said, we're in a very precarious situation. And in some ways, you got to be very careful because there's a lot of people running their mouth about this upcoming election. And I'm going to tell you straight up, I think you got to be careful because I think that the call out by others of you being verbally abusive may come back to haunt you. I mean, I can't emphasize enough. I hope I'm wrong. But I would have to say, don't be blindsided of what's going on where you get caught up in all this social media content and all this malarkey and baloney, and you're going to get caught and you're going to be blindsided about how you may be part of a problem that you really didn't create, but you participated in it, but then you're tagged and looked at a different way. So message to so many out there that watch my channel, I'd be careful on what you're posting. Your unhappiness of this or that, that's one thing, but I'd be careful on how you're putting your words. And even for me, I'm on X, and I respond to some of these people, but I try not to per se attack individuals. I try to more attack like the subject that they're pretending to be of everything being so great. So for me, once again, I think that all of us need to realize, and it's even now, there's a lot of talk in the public school systems and a lot of things going on around us in the country that are pushing the envelope. It's like they're pushing their finger in your face. Up in Philadelphia, apparently the Philadelphia Eagles are endorsing Kamala Harris because there's now Philadelphia Eagles logos with like the helmet and then the side looking of a person on like bus stops. Lots of things are starting to be placarded up, and it's false advertising. So the Eagles are not representing Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is a San Francisco 49ers fan, but people are taking things and they're blindsiding people to make them think that the Eagles now are rooting for Kamala Harris. And so once again, and then you could get an attitude very quickly that you don't like the Eagles anymore because whatever, or you could have an attitude that now you love the Eagles even more because they're promoting Kamala Harris. But you're being blindsided because in today's society, it's so easy to make things with all the technology around us to make you think one thing, but it's not actually factual. And that's what's going to start to be even more so as we're not far away. It's hard to believe. We're only 2 months to election. You're right, September, then October, then remember, it's like November 3rd, the first Tuesday of the first week of November is election time. So we're literally just approaching now, 60 days? Not even that now? Is that what it is? I'm not even real sure on that math. And I just think that the amount of just more of the craziness is going to start to even mount more. And if you look at the January 6th participants, they were all part of that, getting very caught up in that election. And that gets, that's the rabbit hole conversation, because some will put a claim to what played out versus others will put a different claim. But the point is, I think we're getting ready to possibly see that type of emotional thing start to play out around us. And if you get caught up in it and start mouthing off, I don't know. Are you going to be a January 6th participant? Could go on either sides. I mean, I think that gets really heavy and deep, and I'm just not going to do it on my channel, because that isn't the goal of my channel, to make people watch my videos and become aggravated and upset, even though I have had some people reach out and have got upset with me because of what I've said on my channel, what they think that I kind of maybe bend one way too much than the other. And then a YouTuber yesterday, he's kind of a newer YouTuber, he reached out after I made a video, What Do I Ride? A shorty, and he actually reached out, but I don't know, he deleted that video, he deleted that comment, so I don't know if he did leave or not. And, anytime you hear somebody reach out to me and leave, I'm always disappointed to hear that, but I understand, I get it. So, he reached out and he was just like, hey, I'm just sick of seeing all your damn toys, and, and then you embellishing and bragging about, to me it's like, well, I don't really think you're really that in tune with my channel, because that doesn't really want me to brag that I'm better than you. I'm not. I'm just crazier. Than you are. More people than my channel have probably far better savings accounts, checking accounts, and they probably have far more money than I do to go do other things in their life besides make motorcycle payments and car payments and truck payments, and that's my whole life. Insurance payments, and here's the next thing. I've gotten blindsided by the state of Florida of how the insurance has gone through the roof. Now Geico is reaching out and is giving me the heads up that the motorcycle industry, the insurance is getting ready to go up. It's like, oh my gosh, everything's getting so expensive. So for me, yeah, will I be blindsided when I get the next bill for the motorcycles? Yeah, I mean, then it comes to the crossroads. What do I keep? What do I don't? I don't know. That's why I say everything's always for sale. But I already know it. You're not going to pay the price I paid for it. You're not going to pay $100,000 for this used truck. You're not going to pay $70,000 for this used Charger. But that's the thing. That's what you have to bring to the table for me to let it go. You're not going to pay me, by the time I pay tax and tags, $85,000 for that Ram truck. You're not going to pay me over $80,000 for that Ram. It's just not going to happen. People are like, oh, now you're telling me you're going to sell this stuff at a discounted rate. Well, then Anybody local, I can just drive a dealership and accomplish that. So nothing, no criticism on my channel, anybody here. That's it. I'm done. I gotta go take care of business. Gotta get Julie and Brian to work. They got a busy day. Beautiful day. And as always, thanks so much for watching my channel. Appreciate all the support and help. And donate to the multiple the muscle dystrophy out there in Wisconsin. And if you look at my video on Tuesday, later in the video I have the link. I don't have the link, but I have a very long holding the picture. I should link it somehow in one of the videos. I didn't figure that out, but that's it. I gotta go. So have a beautiful day. God bless.